Hi folks, my name is Jason with Hanbleceya Ranch. Along with my wife Jennifer, who's currently in her cabin making her next chunky blanket, we retired in the summer of 2021. We left Chicago and came out here to the beautiful state of Maine to carve out our own off-grid homestead. Now, over the course of the last 3 years, I'd like to think Jen and I learned a few things. And so in today's video, we're going to share with you a few of those things that we've picked up along the way. But before we get into that, there are a few things I wanted to cover with you folks. Some changes to Hanbleceya Ranch. More importantly, our social media and internet presence. So a few months ago, we opened up an Etsy store. The Etsy store, the whole plan was to give an avenue to us to allow us to sell some of Jennifer's blankets. Now these would be blankets that we have that are physical blankets that she's already made, including some beanie hats and pet beds. Now during that time we did some research and we've made a decision to close our Etsy store, but we did open up our own website. Now I'll leave a link in the description. On our website you're going to find Jennifer's chunky blankets, and these would include throw blankets and baby blankets. You'll also find beanie hats that she has made not only for adults but also for babies, and then a few different types of pet beds that we're trying out. And you'll find all of these on the website. And you'll also find our tumblers. Now these come in, I believe there's 9 or 10 different colors. They're great for holding coffee or anything that's iced as well. Now it's also important to note that any order placed on our website gets free shipping. The other thing we'd like to mention is that we do have a Patreon. Jennifer manages, she adds photographs, never before seen videos, all kinds of different content on there. And more importantly, she also has all of her recipes on there. So if you're feeling so inclined to support us in that regard, we would very much appreciate it. All of the proceeds from Patreon and from the website go to helping Jennifer and I in this journey. And having said all of that, on behalf of Jennifer and I, thank you very much for your support, subscriptions to our YouTube channel, the follows and the likes on Instagram and Facebook, and to our Patreon members. Thank you so much for all of the support. All right, well, having said all of that, we are currently over by our wood splitter. I've got to split up some cook wood because we are out of wood in our small shed. So we're going to fill up the back of Dory with some biscuit wood, cook wood, and yeah, let's have a conversation on what Jen and I have learned. So before I get started splitting, one of the biggest things that we've learned about coming out, since we've been out here, is that the weather defines everything. Coming from the city, it didn't matter if it was raining or snowing or whatnot. You just lived your life and you did whatever you had to do. Now, if there was big bad storms, things like that, maybe you stay inside for a day or whatnot. But here on our homestead, projects will come to a halt if the weather's bad, simply because we have to work outside. We've got all these big projects going on, and if, like currently, where everything is muddy, I can't use the tractor, I can't use the truck, I can't, do anything because the weather sucks. So that, I think, is the one thing, the biggest thing that Jen and I really had to kind of learn, was that despite our best efforts, we can't really do anything if the weather's bad. Another thing we learned right away is how important neighbors are. Back in Illinois, we lived in a townhome complex of about 150, maybe 160 families, and we hardly knew any of them. It wasn't because we were bad people or they were bad people. We were just living our lives, running from one event or one life, thing to another, and we never really got to know any of our neighbors. Fast forward to the first summer we came here in 2019, and we met 2 of our neighbors who have both since then become some of our best friends. And without having their support, their knowledge of the locals here, we probably would not be as successful as we have been. I don't know about you folks, but when I was in the city, it was difficult for me to ask for help, especially from a neighbor. It was just easier for me to either pay somebody to do it or to struggle through it myself. But living out here, I've become quite humble in asking for help when I need it. And thankfully, we have amazing neighbors that are always here to give us a hand. So learning to live with your neighbors is a crucial piece to being successful in this lifestyle. Another thing we learned really quick is you can't trust everything you see on YouTube, especially in this genre. Keep in mind that what you see on our YouTube videos are what we as the content creators want you to see. When you're watching us cut wood or split wood, it may look simple, but you do that 2 or 3 times a week and it grows old pretty quick. The allure of this lifestyle lives and breathes in the YouTube videos that we watch, because the reality is this lifestyle is hard. It is tough. You have to have patience. You have to have an understanding that your best laid plans are not always going to work. You have to understand that no matter how much effort you put into something, you may not get the outcome that you were intending to get. It's just, there's too many variables, there's too much hard work, and it is not always roses and cherries. That said, it's also the most rewarding life that I could have ever imagined. So despite all of the hard work, all of the bad times, all of the plans, the perfect plans that didn't really pan out the way you had planned, there's also just such a warming feeling to be out here doing this that is so hard to describe. The freedom, the sense of worth is, I can't describe it. And you know, it's the reason I say this is because when we were doing our planning and we came out here, we had this sense of this life being kind of like how we saw on YouTube, and it just wasn't. You know, there's terrible times, but there's also great times. And trying to find the balance between the two, that's always been the challenge. But now that we've been here for a few years, you know, Jen and I have come to the realization that the balance between the hard work, the long hours, the, you know, all of the negative stuff and all of the bad stuff that goes along with this lifestyle is peanuts in comparison to the moments that are awesome. They just are. It's just like right now, I'm standing out here getting ready to load firewood. There's my woods. It's good food for the soul. This lifestyle will eat you apart if you let it. But if you can get through all those bad times, it's worth every single moment. A lot of folks talk about the winters here in Maine, how long they are and brutal. And coming into this, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. But what we didn't realize was exactly how long these winters are. I mean, it's one thing to know that winter's gonna last 6-7 months. It's another thing to live it. We weren't so surprised with the cold, or even really the snow for that matter. We knew there was big snow here. Back in Chicago, we were used to temperatures that were much colder than they are here in Maine. But holy smokes, the length of winter, that was a big smack in the face. Now the last thing we'll talk about in this video, because we will be doing a series on these lessons learned, as I call them, on our transition here to Maine. But the last thing I want to talk about is really an important one, and one that, again, I kind of knew that we were going to rely on this, but I didn't really know how much, and that is having the right equipment for the right job. Now, I know it might sound simple and common sense, but it wasn't to me. See, I thought just having all the right tools, having as many toolboxes as I could filled with tools were going to do the job. But the reality was that we needed the right wood splitter. We needed multiple chainsaws. We needed the right equipment to move snow, and we needed multiple pieces of equipment. You know, having the tractor on the homestead was a big one. I knew that I wanted a tractor when we first moved here. I didn't realize how much I needed the tractor being here on the homestead, and how much work it allows us to get done in a relatively short amount of time without breaking our backs. Having skills to not only use the equipment but also maintain the equipment is another big one that I've read about 100 different times, but I never really put a lot of focus on it, because I always thought that if I ran into a situation where I didn't know how to do something, I could just jump on YouTube. And that's fine if you have the time to do that. But in a lot of cases, as you know, that Jen and I have found ourselves in, we needed an answer quickly. We needed an answer, or we needed a solution, quickly. And so spending the time to go on YouTube or spending the time to look it up, it was either we weren't in the right area to have service, or we just didn't have the time to do that. And so you really quickly learn that bush fixes, being able to problem solve quickly is a real thing, and being able to maintain the equipment you have and maintain the equipment needed to maintain the equipment is a real thing. That's one of the reasons we're building our garage. See, I need someplace to do all of this work. I thought doing it in a small shop would be fine, but that's just simply not the case. I need someplace where I can build stuff and where I can work on stuff and maintain it. So I'll leave you with this. If you're thinking of moving off grid and homesteading, or just simply homesteading, or even on the grid, during your preparations, make sure that you put in enough effort to plan for what you need, but you leave some bandwidth so that when things change or when things don't go your way, you're not getting frazzled and losing your mind, because it's not always going to go your way, and you are going to have to adapt. And like I said earlier in the video, even the best laid plans aren't going to work out the way you think. When all of those things happen, having the smarts and having your wits about you and having your head about you is certainly going to save you from a lot of frustration. All right, folks, well, that'll do it for this video. I've got to keep splitting, and I've got to get a few other projects done, but I just wanted to spend a few minutes and illustrate to you folks some of the things that we've picked up since we've been here. So I hope this helps, and if these are things that don't help you, well, that's okay too. Now be sure to please check out our website at HanbleceyaRanch.com, and don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. We'll see you on the next video.